take a distressed property, renovate it, and rent it out. And then when you go to refinance it, you pull all of the original funds that you put in out and reinvest it into the next property.
You're listening to Investing for Good, a show that brings you the stories and strategies of people who are investing to build a legacy for their families, create a meaningful and intentional life by design, and impact the world around them. And now, here are your hosts, Annie Dickerson and Julie Lamb.
Hey everyone, Annie Dickerson here with Julie Lamb. Julie, how are you and how is Sacramento?
Oh, I am doing excellent. Probably the best I have been all year long. I'm sitting right now in front of a window and looking out into a beautiful garden, watching the ducks stroll by. I think I might have even seen a deer go by too earlier, but it's just amazing out here. It's my kind of weather. And yes, it's beautiful. It's like 75 degrees and kids are out playing in the pool and just loving it. So
tell us about the other things, because I know you've got a pool, a trampoline, like a big Connect Four thing, and horses.
Yeah, I know. I told my kids, I'm like, something's wrong with you. If you're bored tell me here. That you're bored here, or ask me if there's anything to do. Right. They've got their bikes, their scooters, their cars that they could drive around. I mean, there's horses in the back nearby. There's a pool, a trampoline. There's life-size Jenga and Connect Four. I don't know. There's a lake down there with fish and turtles. We've been turtle hunting, which has been fun. For some reason, turtles rise to the top. Yeah. So there's so much to do here. We're just having a blast.
Fun.
So, yeah.
So fun. I know it's funny, right? We're currently in a small town in Oregon, and I chose this house because there's literally a creek that runs through the backyard. And so we got here a few days ago, and the first thing I'm like, guys, let's go down to the creek. Let's check out the creek. And of course, the kids are like, I don't want to go down to the creek. I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me right now?
We're going down to the creek.
But they're having fun now. My husband's challenged them to create a dam. So they've been gathering sticks and rocks and sort of engineering the whole thing. And so it's been so much fun.
Yeah, it's so funny because I feel like I'm having more fun too than the kids are. I'm like, let's go ride scooters down the driveway. And they're like, what? I just want to sit around in the house. It's hot. I'm like, no, we're going outside. We are totally going outside.
Exactly. So, well, I love that we are both traveling and still working. I love this about the business that we've built and our stories and our journey, which is so perfect because today we talk with Palak Shah. She's the owner and founder of Open Spaces Capital and Open Spaces Women, and her journey so closely mirrors our journeys as well. And to hear her talk about that overpowering feeling she had when she was driving to work as a mechanical engineer, trying to climb the corporate ladder, but really hitting this ceiling and really wanting to be at home with her kids. And to hear that in her story, I think so much of that resonates with you and I and our stories as well.
Yeah. And we talked so much about entrepreneurship in the show, which I actually wasn't expecting. I thought we were going to talk more about just like real estate and families and stuff, but we talked a lot about, the joys of entrepreneurship and the flexibility and the ability to own your own time and, making the shift as we all did from corporate into entrepreneurial endeavors like in real estate. And it's just been really nice to hear from another woman, another mother, her journey and how she got over that fear because, for me, I was so deathly afraid to leave, a good paying job and, one that's what you're told to do. And I had gotten there. And so it was like, wait, what? Now I'm going to let this go? Like this thing that is supposed to be the thing that you work so hard for to get. And so we just talked about a number of different entrepreneurial things that you encounter when you make the shift from going corporate to doing what we do now. And it was great too.
Yeah. And we talk about the BRRRR strategy, which we haven't really talked too much about in our previous episodes. Fantastic strategy for being able to build your real estate portfolio. Yeah. So definitely you guys are going to love this one. Check this out. Here's our conversation with Palak Shah. Hey, Palak, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, we are excited to talk to you. Now, Palak, you've created two powerful real estate brands, Open Spaces Capital and Open Spaces Women. Now, tell us a little bit about your journey into real estate and entrepreneurship. Now, how did you get into it? And was it always something that you had intended to do, or was it something you sort of fell into by accident?
So I'm actually a mechanical engineer, and I worked in corporate for 17 years, and I thought that was it. It was great. I thought, it's hard work climbing the corporate ladder, but it was fun. I was around smart people making good money, traveling all over the world, and real estate came into the picture after we had kids. So my husband and I decided to have kids in our late 30s, and I don't know, things that excited me before didn't seem so great afterwards. And I realized that the higher up I wanted to move, the less time I was going to have for my kids. And the big thing was, I don't know, I felt like we're coached, right, by society, by everybody around us. And I felt like I had been coached completely wrong. I felt like a lie had been sold to me. Like they always say that, oh, wait till you're financially stable to have kids. But it doesn't work that way. The higher up you go, the less time you have for family. So I asked for flexibility at my work, and that was not a very request that was very welcome. So I decided to pursue real estate. So I decided to quit my job, and it was months of turmoil before I could pull the trigger and actually do it. And I still wanted to make an impact. So I started investing in real estate, and then I created, in 3 years, created our portfolio, which was $4 million. In the first year, I replicated my income, and I wanted to tell everyone about it. I wanted to shout from the rooftops. And especially, at first I was thinking this is all about, mothers need to really understand the impact and the power of this. But truly, the more I have started teaching this to other people, I have realized that it's not just mothers, it's parents in general who can truly benefit from real estate investing. So Open Spaces Women was born out of that need and desire to help. And that's it.
I love so much about your story. It mirrors Julie's and my story so closely. When you have kids, it just changes everything, changes all of your priorities. And so you were working as a mechanical engineer for 17 years. I can't even imagine. So you're climbing the corporate ladder, I imagine getting promotions, getting raises, and then you had your kids and your world suddenly shifts. And the part about the story that strikes me most is you just say casually, you're like, yeah, I quit my job, and within a year I was able to replicate my salary. But that's huge. So wait, as a mechanical engineer, especially one that's 17 years in, it's not like you're making minimum wage, right? You're probably making quite a healthy salary. So walk us through that. First of all, how did you know that real estate was the path you wanted to pursue? And then how were you able to build up quite an extensive portfolio in such a short amount of time?
Really great questions. And I actually was pleasantly surprised myself at how much more impact you can have on reaching your potential when you work for yourself as well. Because as an engineer, I always thought of my limit and my ceiling and my potential. It was all based on how my superiors saw me, right? Mm-hmm. And then when it comes to investing and building your own business, you realize that, wait a minute, I can shoot for something way above that now. Let me backtrack just a little bit. So I have 2 kids, and I had them back to back within a span of less than 2 years. So after my first child was born, my daughter, I knew something had to change, and something wasn't making me happy. I knew something had to change. So we started investing in real estate on the side. So we would take any bonus or anything, any savings, any tax returns, and put them into one property as a down payment.
And were these single family homes?
Single family home, buy it, rent it out. So we did that a few times. And so I knew that that was a path I would take when I would quit my job. Except after I quit, I was making 6 figures. And so really losing that second income made it difficult to then, have that seed money again and again. So we found the value add investing strategies, the BRRRR strategy. So basically what you do is you take a distressed property, renovate it, and rent it out. And then when you go to refinance it, you pull all of the original funds that you put in out and reinvest it into the next property. And I just ran with it. And I just kept, after the first one and after seeing how it's done and after I cracked the code, I kept repeating it and doing larger projects. And that's how it allowed me to grow fast.
So how did you know that real estate though was like the thing? So, because it sounds like you just kind of was like, oh, I'm going to buy a house. But like, how did you know that like buying a house was like the thing that could lead to all this? Or did you even know that at the time? Because I think a lot of people don't know that, right? And they just think like, I don't know. But so I'm curious to know for you, was real estate something that you were taught about like in school, or your parents invested, or how did you read a book? Like, how did you stumble across like real estate investing?
After my daughter was born, when we did that a couple of times, we just bought rent-ready properties and rented them out. I started seeing how much the cash flow was every month, and I was managing everything myself, and it truly gave me an insight into how that would work. And I did like a deep dive in finance, and I figured out that if I can learn how the finance world works when it comes to these single family or small multi-unit rentals, I could really take it to the next level. So that's pretty much how I started. My dad was a developer, but that's in India. That was years ago. Okay. He passed away when I was 5. So maybe, I don't know, maybe I got interested in it.
It's in your genes.
So at the point when you had tried out some of these rentals and you were like, this seems to be working, and to the point where, I think you mentioned there were 3 or 4 months there where you knew you were going to quit your job, but you hadn't quite quit your job yet. Tell us a little bit more about that time, because I know a lot of our listeners are in that place where they're thinking about maybe making a move, but it's scary, right? Going from 6 figures to all of a sudden not having that steady paycheck. So tell us a little bit more about your experience with that.
Yeah, so I think it helped that we had a few rentals and we had some passive income coming. It also helped that I had just had a baby and my daughter was still a toddler, and I was thinking about it not just in terms of money. It wasn't just like a financial decision that, hey, I would make more if I quit my job. It wasn't like that. It was, I wanted nobody to tell me how I spent my time. And each day that I went to work, when I was going through that turmoil, each day I felt like I shouldn't be here. I should be with my kids. And I didn't want to wait for that, to do that 10 years down the line. I wanted that now. So we did a calculation in that I said, okay, if I kept my kids with me, I would save on childcare. And then I had a little bit of the passive income coming from the few rentals that I had. And I said, okay, if I look at the difference between what I was bringing home versus how it would look after I quit my job, and compared those two, and I had to make a decision on whether I was willing to give up that much amount for having this life where I could choose how I would spend my time and how I would build the business. It seemed like it was worth it.
Well, and it's funny because it's only temporary, right? It's not like you leave your job, like you said, now, the sky's the limit. I mean, you can, you have so much more earning capacity, but you can do it on your own terms and on your own time. And so taking that initial leap, I think people need to remember that it's just for a period of time until you build up whatever it is, whether you're pulling equity from your homes and then you're investing in more rentals and growing your portfolio. It's not like the real retirement where you retire and then that's it. And that's all you ever are going to make for the rest of your life. It's just like a temporary cutback until you can grow your portfolio, or like you've done and like we've done, where we've gotten really serious and jumped into the active side of investing and replaced all of our income. So
that's a really good point that you bring up, because that is a risk, right? That temporary income that you're going to lose, it's a risk because you don't know if you can do what you think you're going to do. So So being able to take that risk, and to be able to take that risk, you have to be really clear on why you're doing it. And I feel like that's what really helped me. And my need to be with my kids was visceral. Like every bone in my body told me I had to do this while they were little. And this time wasn't going to come back if I didn't do it right now. And I was tired of, having somebody else decide that just because I wanted to stay home with a sick child meant I wasn't capable of the next level up in promotion, right? Like I was tired of somebody telling me that. So all of those factors that really make you realize why you're doing it, help take that risk that you're talking about, the temporary setback that you have to face to take that step.
Yeah. When you are in that position and you're faced with that feeling that you're talking about, it's so overpowering. And for me, it was exactly this. I would describe it so much the same way that you did. Every day I was driving to work and I just had this feeling that, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing? I would be like driving away from the house, or I'd like drop my kids off at daycare and I'm like, what am I doing? This feels so wrong. And then all these questions come into your mind, like, but this is what everybody does. Yeah. This is what you're told to do. Like, you have kids, in 3 months in, you take them to the daycare and you drop them off and you go back to work. And I didn't know, because it wasn't like everybody around me was quitting their jobs and doing that. So it was like, how do I know if this is like the right thing? Am I doing this? So there's so much of that. So how did you gain that like confidence? Because we are talking about a good amount of risk. And how did you gain that confidence? Or was it just like, it didn't really matter and you knew that you had to be with your kids and that was what mattered? Or how did you get over that? Because I'm sure there's a lot of people listening, mothers who might be listening to this thinking, I do feel that, I do know that, but I'm so scared and I don't even know what to do or where to go from here. And how do you get over that? I always joke my story, my confidence story was when I met Annie, and she had quit her job, I think like a month before I met her. A week before.
Oh my God.
And I still remember, standing there, it was at this after party thing from a conference we were at, and we were standing there talking. I just met her and she said, yep, I just quit my job and I have 2 kids and I just left. And I'm like, you quit? Like, how did you do that? And so so for me, it was hearing the story of another woman, another mother, like making that big jump, making that decision. So I want everyone to hear, like, from you, how did you get over that? And how did you find that confidence to do what you needed to do to get to where you are now?
Yeah, you bring up a really good point, because I didn't have anybody around me who had quit their job, whose story I could emulate or I could use as a role model to replicate their strategy and what exactly they did to do that. Right. So I agree. There's definitely a lack of people doing it. I also tried Googling it. Did you try Googling it before you quit your job? I was can I find something that would, give me the answers that I'm looking for? And what I realized was everything I found was just, there were only 2 aspects to it. One was whether you should keep your job, because I don't know, you find all these studies, and God knows who pays for them, but all these studies that are little girls whose mothers worked in corporate for their entire lives, grew up and made more money compared to the girls who did, right? So there's like this one extreme aspect. Then there's this other side on how when kids don't receive whatever they need, I don't know, love, care, support from their parents when they're such and such age, they grow up and they have all these issues. And so you should stay home. There are only 2 extremes. There is no middle ground that you can find, in the sense that if you want, you can choose a path which would allow you to have the flexibility to be with your kids and still be able to make that impact that you want. So, all jokes aside about Googling it, like if you really try to find this, there is no advice that is being given that is unbiased. Yeah. It's, these studies are conducted by, I don't know, somebody's benefiting from them, right? Yeah. So there is no unbiased advice that's being given that would help people truly make the decision on how they should be pursuing their path. And my husband calls it the 2-choice fallacy. Like he wants to write about it. He's talked about it, that there's only 2 choices given to us as parents who work in corporate, right? One choice is put your kids in daycare and go to work, or one of the, parents has to stay home with the kids. There are only 2 choices given to us. So he calls it the 2-choice fallacy. And there's other options. And the way to answer your actual question, the way I figured out what I was going to do was I talked to people I was close to. Yeah. I couldn't really get the answers I wanted from the friends who were had still pushed through this pain of leaving their children and going to work, and it's very hard for everybody, right? Like I couldn't really get the answers from them because they're pushing through this pain, and then couldn't get the answers from somebody who's in the same age group who had quit their job, because that wasn't what I wanted to do either. It was somewhere in the middle.
Right.
I support my mom financially, so I was talking to her about it, like how things would look if I quit my job, because then things would be different for not just for me but also for her. Talk to her. I talked to my husband, and I think the big thing that helps is you really need support from the people who are closest to you to be able to do this, and you have to really sit down and make some choices on how you're going to operate as a single income family until things that you're trying to do pick up and get to where you're trying to take them.
That support is everything.
Everything.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Julie and I talk about that all the time, how we're so fortunate that our husbands are so supportive of this journey that we've been on. And same as you, my mom lives with us. And so that factored into my decision as well. So that is it. That's quite an amazing journey, and kudos to you for the courage to put together all those pieces to actually make it happen, not just sitting with that overpowering feeling of wanting to be with your kids, but still just trudging along like a lot of people do, but actually putting into action something that would be a win-win for everyone.
Yeah, and to you as well.
We'll get back to our conversation with Palak in just a minute.
Have you been thinking about investing in real estate but aren't sure you have the time or the desire to manage the investment? Perhaps you're afraid, like we were, that you'll make the mistake of choosing the wrong market or the wrong team and lose your entire investment. Well, that's exactly why we created the Goodegg Investor Club. We do the work of identifying solid real estate investment opportunities in the best markets around the country and then partner with you to acquire these investments, and then we'll all share in the returns. We'll identify the growing markets, strong, experienced teams, and the solid deals. We do all the heavy lifting of managing the tenants and the renovations, and as a passive partner, you get to enjoy all the benefits of investing in real estate: monthly cash flow, long-term appreciation, and the ongoing tax benefits. When we first discovered passive investing through real estate syndications, we realized it fit perfectly into our busy lives. We could put our money to work for our families, work less, and get more time back in our days so that we could focus on what matters most and discover our true passion and purpose in life. We've now helped hundreds of people invest passively in real estate syndications and are seeing the positive impact it's had on their lives. We invite you to partner with us by joining the Goodegg Investor Club today so you can start putting your money to work for you and get more time back in your day, because we know that when people have more time in their days, they can do the true work they were intended to do, and the world will be a better place. To sign up for the Goodegg Investor Club, go to goodegginvestments.com/invest and we'll take it from there. That's goodegginvestments.com/invest.
And now, back to our chat with Palak Shah.
So I want to talk about your real estate in a little bit more depth now. So I don't think, Julie, have we had anybody on who's really talked in depth about the BRRRR strategy? I'm so excited about this.
Yeah, let's dive in.
Yes, let's do it, because I think there are some listeners who might be hearing about BRRRR for the first time. I actually remember the first time that I heard about the BRRRR strategy was on BRRRR podcast, and they didn't even tell me what BRRRR meant. So I was walking the dog, I hear about this amazing strategy, and I go home and I Google it and I spell it like BURR or something. I'm like, the BRRRR strategy, and then thankfully it still came up and is BRRRR. It's always, I always get either too few or too many R's. It was 4 R's, right? So tell us, Palak, what the BRRRR strategy is and how you've been able to implement it to grow your portfolio so quickly.
Yeah, that's exactly where I found out about the BRRRR strategy from Bigger Pockets. I think Brandon Turner was the one who coined the term BRRRR strategy. I mean, it has been done for years. I have talked to investors who have 30 years experience, and they've been doing this strategy, except it didn't have that name. This has been done for years. But so the BRRRR strategy to just give you like a quick, for anybody who's never heard of it before, is the first letter B stands for buy. You purchase a property that is distressed. Then the next letter R is rehab, renovate it. And then the next is R again, so rent it out, and then refinance it and repeat. So when you rent it out, you stabilize the property. And then when you refinance it, you pull out all of the original funds that you put into the property. And then you keep repeating that cycle again and again, right? So, but the way I approached it was I reached out to investors that had a ton of experience to coach me into the BRRRR strategy itself. But I also hired a business coach, a couple of actually business coaches, and I combined business strategies on scaling with the BRRRR strategy. So what I did was I developed my own framework around the BRRRR strategy, because I come from that's my background. That's what I did for 17 years, is to develop systems and processes to be able to scale any method, any framework. So that's what I did with the BRRRR strategy. So I approached it from the very beginning. I knew that a lot of investors who are implementing the BRRRR strategy are getting their real estate license. They are getting a GC license so they can sub out the projects and do construction on their own. They are doing a lot of DIY. They're doing everything themselves. And that's not how I wanted to do it, because I didn't want to quit one 9-to-5 job and just jump into another one. I had no intention of, I worked a lot of hours, but I didn't have intentions of, again, leaving my children while they were sleeping to go to Home Depot and buy materials so I could set up my eyes in the outside. So I was very careful about really designing the way I was going to implement this strategy around the lifestyle that I wanted. So I implemented it in a different way than how it is implemented in the industry. I was really big on leveraging and analyzing deals and developing methods to do that, and establishing relationships with different people, like, building a really good team of an agent, a contractor, and various different experts that you would need to be able to implement a strategy that is so immersive and still be able to do it while, I don't know, spending a lot of time with the kids. My kids do spend a lot of time at the job sites, though.
I love that.
How old are your kids now?
My daughter will be 6 and my son will be 4 soon.
I'm curious, how much do you teach them about real estate? And what do you think they understand at this point?
We keep calling it the business. So I don't know. I don't know how much, but they know everyone that we work with, because they have met everybody. My contractor has actually worn my son in a baby carrier many times while we were looking at properties.
That's so cute.
As I carry my daughter. Yeah, I have really involved them from the very beginning. I come from a business family. My family, from my mom's side, has had a furniture business, and my mom was a principal in a school, but she also sold furniture on the side, and she used to involve me all the time in the business. And I feel like if it just becomes a part of the day-to-day life, it becomes much more comfortable for the kids. Like, the kids now know that mama is on the phone and I shouldn't interrupt, but they do anyway. But I'm just saying, they really just making that a part of the day-to-day. That's just life now.
Yeah, I love, something that you had said that I think is so important for people to hear is that you didn't want to trade one job for another. And I think when people think about getting active into real estate, they are afraid that that's what's going to happen. Not that they're going to trade one job for another, but as they buy rentals and acquire rentals, they think that it's going to become this whole other, job that they have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. And I think it's really important for people to hear that it doesn't need to be that way, and that you can build your lifestyle and your investments around the way that you want to live and around the time capacities that you have. You just need to be mindful about the way that you're doing it. And like you said, you created a framework that, that allowed you to still achieve all the things you wanted to achieve, but still be with your family. And that's something that Annie and I are so intentional about in everything that we do when we think about new ventures we're going to get into, new projects we're going to do. We're always asking that question is this, how much time is this going to take? And is this the direction we want to go, so that we are able to maintain our lifestyle and not have, left our jobs to just have a new one. And that's why, Annie and I are now coming to you guys live from our travels, and, Annie's in Oregon and I'm up north in Sacramento. But it's just so important, I think, for people to hear that, because you can do this. You can get into real estate and do it in a way that allows you the flexibility and the freedom while you're still growing your cash flow and replacing your 9-to-5 if that's what you wanted to do. So
yeah, and I think that what you said is so important, because there's so much noise about hustle and grind, and it's not that you don't work hard. As mothers or parents who have children and who want a life outside of whatever entrepreneurship venture or investing they're into, you still work hard. Like, I've worked many late nights and spent a lot of time at job site, but it is intentional, and it is a choice that we've made, right? It doesn't have to be something that is as set in stone as a 9-to-5 job.
Yeah. And I think this lifestyle that we've built has allowed us to say, okay, like, yes, the hustle and the grind, that story is so overplayed. I fell into that trap. I still am a part of it, where I feel like I have to work all the time to be meaningful and to have to feel successful. I have to work. And earlier this year, Annie and I went into 2020 and we said that we were not going to work every one day a week, and so that and it's been tough. It's been so hard. I've had to fiercely protect that one day and say no over and over again. But to have that flexibility to be able to do that, I think is important to remember, that you can build that's one of the benefits of this, is that you can build that time into your days and into your weeks to have downtime. But
you're right. If you're a hardworking person by nature, it becomes so difficult to stop as an entrepreneur, because you don't have a desk somewhere else. You can, do just as much work from wherever you are. So it's very hard to stop. And I agree with you. I have to constantly remind myself and make these decisions on a weekly basis. Like, hey, this week I have to stop on this day and at this time. I agree with you. And then especially we have a crew of 8 when it comes to construction. I've got 3 or 4 people who at any given point are helping me run different aspects of the business, and then keeping them going. It becomes really difficult to cut yourself out of that and just be like, it's fine, they can handle it.
So are you guys, is that what you do now, is just the BRRRR strategy, or okay, so you're just doing that on a very large scale. Like, how many are you doing in a month or in a year?
I took a 6-month soft break starting December to focus on my health. So I'm just picking it back up now. So it's a little bit slower than usual, but last year we finished a 10-unit project and then picked up 2 duplexes in a single, all in the span of 4 months. Okay. And so that's kind of the range that we're looking at. We'll also do return on equity analysis on our properties, and then sell some and buy some more, and kind of keep moving things around. So it doesn't really go into a very structured pattern, linear. It kind of goes in ebbs and flows, if that makes any sense.
And are these properties that you're buying, are they nearby you where you live, or are you doing this out of state?
I live about an hour away, 45 minutes to an hour away from where the properties are currently. I have set it up so I don't have to go to the job site, or even though we keep property management in-house, I've set it up so I don't have to go to the job site. I have acquired properties while we were visiting family in India. I have set up systems and processes around it, so it's possible to do that. So I operated like an out-of-state investing business.
That's so nice, though, that you can do it. I wish we could invest that close. I don't even know if we could invest even a few hours plane ride away. It's so hard to find opportunities out here on the West Coast.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So really quick, before we transition, I do want to ask, I want everyone to hear about what open space women or open spaces women?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about that, because I'm so intrigued about why you started that. That sounds so much in line with why Annie and I came together and created Goodegg. But tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so Open Spaces Women, I founded that last year specifically to help other women do what I'm doing, and really made it into a structured small group cohort kind of a setting, because I felt like you really learn a lot as a small group. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to work directly with people so that they could have that accountability and the support that you need from a coach or a mentor that I didn't have when I first started. So a very immersive small group experience that goes on for 3 months. And I work with that group from start to finish. And they start becoming each other's cheerleaders, and they empower each other to really take it to the next level even after they graduate. So that's how we started it last year. And then this year, actually, my husband is now full-time in the business as well. Nice. And and so what I realized last year is that investing is more and more something that a couple takes a decision on, because it's building wealth for your family. So we made it, even though we're still calling it Open Spaces Women, at some point we should probably rebrand it. It's not just for women. It's for, we don't discriminate based on anything, basically. But yeah, that's how I started it.
Okay, cool. And are you teaching folks in the program how to do the BRRRR strategy and how to build out the systems and all of that?
Yeah. So running the way we run the business, implementing the BRRRR strategy with keeping systems and processes and scaling portfolio in mind. So that's what I teach, so that somebody in my shoes can, take this process and implement the framework. Because even though now I can run the business in like about less than 3 hours a day, it's not how I started, right? So if I can give somebody that complete blueprint, they could just take it and implement it, so they don't have to do all of the shooting arrows in the dark and trying out different things that I had to do.
Yeah. And I think it's important, and I don't know, people may or may not have missed this, but one big thing about the BRRRR strategy and what it allows you to do is to take a big chunk of money that you have and basically create many streams of passive income while you're just recycling that same money over and over and over again. So anyone who's listening, who's like, maybe you have, a few $100,000 to play with, maybe you only have $100,000 to play with, you can take this strategy and build multiple streams of passive income by using that same amount of money that you have over and over. And I think that's the amazing thing about the BRRRR strategy, is that you can literally do this with a small chunk of change or a big chunk of change and just rinse and repeat and build these multiple streams of income.
Exactly.
So, I love that. All right. So I know we're at time. Let's run into the Investing for Good impact round. We're going to ask you a couple of questions around investing for good.
All right.
So the first question is investing in yourself. So what is one way that your investments are helping you to live a better life?
So yeah, that's a good question. I think we talked about it a little bit. So I'm an immigrant, right? As an immigrant, a person of color, and a woman, right? Or all of those three. I feel like I had the tendency to make my vision for my future fit the reality I was in. So, as an engineer, I kind of started, and I think we mentioned this, I talked about this before too, is like, I started making my judgment on what my potential was based on how my superiors saw me. Being in business for myself and being an investor, what that is doing for me is that it's making me see myself as having a higher potential. And now I know that I have, only sky's the limit to what I can actually do. So that's one of the biggest change that it has given me.
Yeah, entrepreneurship is just wild. I mean, it's just been so much fun for me and for Annie. We love it. I mean, we thrive on this, and then the impact piece too. We get up every morning and get to do fun stuff like this and, help our coaching clients and our investors. And it's just that in and of itself is so much more valuable to me than any amount of money we could ever make. I mean, that for us is like everything, and why we do everything that we do is just to be able to get up every day and make that impact. So
Absolutely.
I love it. Okay, second question is investing in others. So what is one investment strategy or investment hack that you might be able to share? The BRRRR strategy is an amazing one. So I know people are already walking away from this with a great strategy, but what's something else that you might be able to share with the audience that'll help them catapult their investing journey?
One little piece of advice that I would give anybody who's trying to get started is just start. You just have to start somewhere. It's, I would say, whether it's the BRRRR strategy or another strategy, I feel like any strategy is better than no strategy at all. So I would just give something a shot and start somewhere, instead of letting all of the noise that's out there paralyze you.
Yeah, you got to get out there and just do it. You know, you got to fail forward is what I was reading on a blog somewhere or something the other day. And you know, so many successful people, I think we often forget about the failures that so many successful people have had along the way. And so even if you get out there and it doesn't work out, it's okay, because the failing is part of the journey to the road to success, you know? So I love that.
And you get more and more comfortable with failing.
Yeah. You do. Yep, absolutely. All right, last question is investing in the world. So what is one way that your investments are helping to make the world a better place?
Yeah, I'm really glad you have this question here, because I truly believe that social impact and profitability, they can go hand in hand. And that's what we're always trying to balance those. I'll give you two examples. So the first one is related to our partners. So we work with a diverse team from anything from realtors, contractors, cleaners, photographers. And, you know, I give preference to diversity in all of my partners, whether it is women, people of color, sexual orientation, nationality. We make sure that all of our partners are paid well, especially when it comes to a contractor. You got to make sure that if they're hiring subs, they're getting paid well, because it is not only socially the right thing to do, it also helps you build a team that's loyal to you, because they're getting, you know, paid well, and it helps build businesses together, and that in turn helps build a community. So that's one. And then the second piece is related to our tenants. So in Philadelphia, overall, there is an affordable housing shortage, wherein 2/3 of the landlords don't accept Section 8 vouchers. And when they do, there are a lot of predatory practices, in the sense that the properties are not upgraded or tenants are not treated well. So what we do is we accept Section 8 vouchers, but then we also improve those properties the same way that we would improve any other property, with granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, all of that. And then we track our maintenance requests to make sure that they are being given great service. So we treat the property management, we treat it like a hospitality business, and treat our tenants really, really well. So those are like the two ways that I think we try to balance social impact and profitability. Does that help? Is that what you are asking?
Yeah, that's amazing.
Great.
That community piece. I mean, you're just paying it forward. And, you know, just like us, you know, we didn't get into this for the money piece. It's for that impact piece. And it's clear you're making that impact everywhere you can. I love that you're putting in granite countertops. So many people, so many investors who are in it mainly for the returns would say, well, why would you put granite countertops? You're not going to get your return on that investment in those neighborhoods. But I love that you were paying it forward and showing those residents, you know, the life that they could have, and giving that to them now. And so there's just so much about your journey that's go ahead.
I was saying that I've heard that before, is like the granite countertops and all of that doesn't have a good return on investment. But actually, if I look at the numbers, it's actually also great from that perspective, because tenants who are treated well, they stay longer. They keep the property in good condition. And when they leave, the unit turns take much less time. So we have lower vacancy. And so all of that leads also to good return on investment if you were just looking at it from a numbers perspective.
I love it. Okay, well, Palak, we've talked a lot about your journey, but there's so much more to explore. So tell our listeners, if they wanted to connect with you to learn more about the BRRRR strategy or all that you're doing, and I know you've got a summit coming up as well. Tell us a little bit about that and where they can go to learn more about you and all that you're doing.
Fantastic. Yes, the Portfolio Builder Summit is coming up. It is specifically for investors who want to build a rental portfolio. We don't have the details yet, but you can go to my Instagram page at Open Spaces Women. The handle is still Open Spaces Women. So go to Open Spaces Women and we'll be posting updates about the summit. It's sometime near the end of September.
Fantastic. And then if people wanted to learn more about Open Spaces Capital or Open Spaces Women, is Instagram the best place to go?
The best way, yeah. Instagram is my jam, Open Spaces Women.
Perfect. Palak Shah, owner and founder of Open Spaces Capital and Open Spaces Women. Thank you so much for sharing your journey and your wisdom with us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You've been listening to Investing for Good, the #1 podcast for people like you who are investing to build a legacy for their families, create a meaningful and intentional life by design, and impact the world around them. For more resources, check out goodegginvestments.com/podcast and be sure to join the Investing for Good Facebook community. And don't forget to subscribe and give us a 5-star review so we can continue to bring you amazing new conversations every week. Until next time, keep investing for good.